Take a look at this now. Take it further. Political week that was. Now joined by political analysts Thobani Zikalala and Professor Ntsikelelo Breakfast. Gentlemen, good to have you, and thank you very much for coming on this evening. Is there a tectonic or a shaking of the surface of politics in the country with the introduction of MK and a number of shifts that we are seeing in the EFF as well as in the party? Prof, let me start with you.
Thank you very much, Thabo, for having me, and also good evening to my colleague, Thobani Zikalala. The MK party has brought about a major shake-up in the body politic. As we have seen of late, the EFF has had a downward electoral trajectory. It has had a slippery slope, and it was replaced by the MK party in number 3. Now, MK, as a new kid on the block, it is the official opposition, posing a serious threat to the GNU. And because of its ushering into the political setup of the country, we have seen the ANC also suffering a blow in a big way. So it has been a very interesting phenomenon. But of course, in as much as it does have strong points, it also has weaknesses, as you know that, and I'm not being too harsh, but I think, it's one thing to do well in the elections. It's another thing to build upon that in terms of maintaining the momentum. So I think the party needs to try its level best in terms of bridging some of its gaps. Going for, of course, yesterday we saw the press conference that was addressed by Floyd as a new member of MK, and Utatu Jacob Zuma, clarifying some of the issues that arose from the audience. And yeah, I think let's see how it goes.
Kuzen, what do you make of this fight that seemingly is going to happen now? One, Julius Malema saying this week, I'm taking charge, I'm taking back my party. Too many people have been led to do too many wrong things. It's time now that I take ownership of this party and begin to drive its way forward and its growth. And you've got Floyd Shivambu coming in on the other side saying this thing of smaller parties that are everywhere is not helpful. So we must try and consolidate all those parties and put them into one. So almost you're going to have, of course, the EFF continuing on this side, but MK party trying to consolidate all these smaller parties to form a stronger force.
Good evening, Thabo, and good evening to my big brother, Prof Breakfast. And good evening to your viewers. My big problem has always been something that we've communicated, is that the political landscape of South Africa needs not a multiplicity of political parties, especially for those who claim that they want to contest the ANC and the DA as the bigger political parties. You don't need a multiplicity of organizations. Anyone who speaks of a consolidation of political parties is speaking about what really needs to happen. Now, the problem is going to be, how then do you go about the consolidation? Do you go about the consolidation in this forceful manner whereby you almost force everyone to consolidate towards you, or do you say all the emblems must collapse for a new emblem to emerge? That becomes a different question, because political leaders and the political landscape of South Africa is full of many egos, with everyone almost wanting to be a leader. And if someone has built an organization that has been able to contest elections, it's going to be very difficult to convince that person to let go of an emblem and a logo that they've built so much to consolidate into one part. It will be almost like a swallowing of that political party. The battle between Julius and Floyd is interesting. Floyd has been the lone mower, the wingman, the right-hand man of Julius for many years, close to 15 years now. Surely Julius, as if you saw how he came out in the Ground Forces Forum, he was coming out as a wounded man, and as someone who's filling a gap in his power base, because Floyd is the person who was doing many of the machinery fixing of the EFF. I mean, people have been speaking about how many conferences, many structures of the EFF, the political maneuvering in terms of how those structures are consolidated was the work of Floyd. How many were chopped from the EFF was the work of Floyd. Of course, because of Julius as the figure and as a man in charge, everything almost had to be run through him. Now with him coming out as saying he's taking in charge of his organization, he's almost feeding in to the accusation of him as a dictator, him as feeling as the owner of the EFF. But that's a windowed man who's filling a gap of not having the trusted force and looking around in terms of those he has and asking himself a question: who amongst these is going to be now my general that I send to war, that I send to back him, if I'm not there to do it myself? This is why he comes out guns blazing. I mean, in the press conference, he said Floyd must not be attacked. He must be treated by as one of their own. When he saw that the reaction of the public to the leaving of Floyd is not as he had thought it's going to be, he came out guns blazing 3 days later to attack the very same Floyd he had said he is not going to be attacked. This is a wounded man, and as quick for him, he seems to be as quick as possible for him to admit that losing Floyd in the EFF is a very big blow. And any organization that gains Floyd in the current political landscape is gaining someone with an experience of political maneuvering. And an MK seems to have seen that if you look at the responsibilities that they've given him in that national organizer role.
Absolutely. I wanted to talk to those roles a little bit, Prof. Looking at those roles that they've been given and the type of politics that Floyd aspires to, he is responsible for organizing, developing the MK Party organizational documents and guidelines, something that I'm sure he can do in his sleep, political education, policy research, monitoring and evaluation of governance, particularly the MK caucus and public representatives working with the SG. Is he going to be given that space to be able to do those things, especially considering some would find themselves in closer proximity to former President Jacob Zuma and have his ear and can whisper into his ear quite easily? So things like cadre deployment, things like wrapping the caucus around the knuckles and so on and so forth. Is he going to be given room and space to do that?
Well, your guesses are as good as mine. I'm surprised to say Floyd, I think, has a history of being the brains behind the EFF in terms of what the party stands for, in terms of the ideological pillars of the party. And I think he's bringing that depth to MK. And I've noticed something very interesting of late in Umkhonto weSizwe. There seems to be ideological clarity of late, even yesterday, in terms of what the party stands for. Because in the beginning, the party was very general in terms of what it stood for. But of late, there seems to be, specificity in terms of what the party stands for. For instance, the party now says that it stands for Pan-Africanism. It stands for anti-imperialism, anti-colonialism. And I presume that Floyd, even though he has just joined the party recently, but he must have made some intellectual contribution to the party, and he is even going to, in my view, try to refine, the ideological tenets of the party. I think the role that he has been assigned to at the moment is very strategic, because he has been appointed, not elected, appointed to be the national organizer, which is a powerful position. So he's going to interact with the rank and file of the party, preparing the base, for the upcoming conference of the party. I think the party does appreciate his presence in Umkhonto weSizwe, and let's see if there will be enough space for him. But I don't anticipate anything at the moment that will pose a threat to his contribution to the party.
Because in your view, the Ntsikelelo, the big guns, Dr. John Klope, that are brought into the party, will they allow this young man to do what he needs to do as far as, of course, restoring governance? I mean, we're already hearing from the 10, for example, that are being removed from parliament saying Why are they bringing these people who do not know where the MK party started? We were the ones struggling on the ground to bring this party to where it is right now. Floyd Shivambu could be seen as one of those.
One thing that the MK party, I mean, of course, in the beginning, some of us have characterized it as organized chaos, right? It's chaotic, but this chaos seems to be organized to be pointed, right? And of course, now, if you look at how it is able to galvanize senior, experienced, well-respected, and people who have got what you call some particular positionality in terms of the political landscape of South Africa, that has, of course, will bring a bit of respect. Of course, I mean, there's always going to be questions of these people's past and all those things. But for them to be able to galvanize experienced people, to deploy them into key positions, especially in the legislature, to make their caucus strong so that they are able, I mean, to be able to take on the ANC. Now, where they are going to struggle a bit, I mean, and of course, I agree with Prof. Breakfast when he speaks about the seemingly ideological specificity and clarity that is coming out. I mean, in the beginning, all of us were busy asking what is the ideological character and what you call. Now we can see, and they can, I mean, boldly now they speak of their ideological pillars. Of course, maybe not as much now, very clarified, very sophisticated, and very nuanced, but at least you can hear where they stand on particular issues and what their ideological posture is. Where I was saying that they're going to strike is that the appointing of leadership and the recruiting of senior political men and women who are going to come to the party. While you appoint, I mean, it's not foreign, this idea of appointing leadership. Also, it must be clarified that the idea of electing leadership is not the only way to run an organization. Leadership can be appointed. But the only question that you are going to have is, how do you make sure that the rank and file are able to accept and give goodwill, right? And be able to give their goodwill to these people who are now being appointed as leaders. That's going to be where the MK party must really work hard to cultivate the goodwill of their rank and file to accept this appointed leadership. I don't think they'll struggle much with that, because if you've seen recent months in terms of how the decisions have been taken, the rank and file did not seem to be shaken much when this one is fired, this one is removed. The reason for that is because the pillar, the symbolic figure of the party, which is former President Jacob Zuma, is seen as the key figure in all of this. If he accepts it, because everyone came to this party because he was associated with it. So if he is okay with the decision being taken, it seems as if the rank and file, it does not question it that much, because they came because they trust him.
Right.
The problem will be what happens when they lose trust in this symbolic figure. Because then they will start questioning his decisions. For now, any decision that he has taken, they do not seem to question it so far.
Thobani Zikalala, Professor Ntsikelelo Breakfast, appreciate your time. Let's leave it there for tonight.